Okay, good morning, folks, and welcome to Member Stock Chart Request. This is where we review the symbols for our members, which they submit for me to review. But first, let's kick things off with a view of how the markets appear poised to open. It's about 5:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have the Dow Mini Futures down about 175. They continue to weaken up here, and the S&P futures, they're down nearly 12 points on the morning. So they were down lower. They did bounce up off the lows of the period, but net, both the Dow futures and the E-minis, they are looking weak as we proceed into the open. Now, taking a look at the U.S. dollar, the dollar really weakened up overnight. Remember yesterday we had that bounce in the dollar. I thought it was a technical bounce, but they pointed a finger. They always need to point the finger, the news media, at a catalyst of why. And the why is that despite the fact that GDP in the Eurozone is growing, there's an expectation that they will kick the can down the road and will not raise rates for a prolonged period of time. If anybody believes that this very aggressive president with his new incoming hand-picked Fed chairman and a very dovish Treasury Secretary are going to allow for a very strong U.S. dollar, they have another thing coming. So I'm not going to be the least bit surprised to see the dollar take out the year's lows in the coming days. Now, as for oil has been weak thus far. So far this week, that's only one trading day. We are bouncing today. If I haven't mentioned, these are all 4-hour charts. We are bouncing today. We do not, actually we do. We have a breakout on a 4-hour chart. So oil is picking up steam this morning. It's down slightly on the day, but it is rallying back and breaking out. As for gold, it's been picking up steam. I've been up for about 45 minutes already on my second cup of coffee, and gold has been rallying strong all morning. It was up when I first looked about $110. Now we're up $3.80 the ounce. So we're looking good here. No breakout yet. And we added to our gold mining position on weakness yesterday due to seasonality. I discussed that with members last night on Market Wrap. Now we're up $4.10 the ounce. All right, let's get to the charts for members. All right, for Evan, my Bitcoin millionaire, who is now looking to transition into becoming a gold mining millionaire. You have to love the guy, 26 years old, and he's killing it. So Bitcoin, I have been talking about of late, holding support levels. And the support level I was looking for it to hold was right here, the lows of November of 2017. And we've been holding it. Now, you're hearing a lot of bearish chatter on the financial news media about Bitcoin because it's not making 1,000 point a day move higher. Really, come on, let's be real here. Let's focus on the technicals. What are the technicals telling us? Well, there's no doubt that the macro view, the weekly view, is somewhat concerning. There are reasons to be optimistic. What are those reasons? Well, did you know that we broke out above this upper band of resistance on a weekly basis on a weekly chart? We broke out, but I call this a breakout in time, meaning it wasn't based upon price strength. It just merely traded sideways long enough to be able to average through this resistance level. So now comes the test. And we're testing support right now. We're retesting the breakout point. We'll probably retest once again this lower band of support. Then the question then becomes, do we break out above 12,000? And do we close there? Most importantly, this is what I teach members. It doesn't matter where a stock, cryptocurrency, the price of tulips, where they trade intraday or intra-period, in this case a weekly chart. What matters is where they close. When would I be a buyer of Bitcoin? Well, if you're going to stick by your stops, buy it when we retest the support level here. Put on a small position. Scratch the itch. and then add more on a close above 12,000. Now, if you do buy it down here and we close down below the support level, you had better execute on your stop loss order. You made a promise to yourself. You better get out because we're going a ton lower. We'll pull back to 5,800 on Bitcoin before we bounce. So please, if you're going to buy here, use a stop loss order. Granted, if you're not trading futures, you may need to use a mental stop, but you're choosing to play a volatile game, and the only one you're going to be responsible to is you. So please, I don't want to see anybody losing money. All right, U.S. Steel. We were long of U.S. Steel. We booked profits last week, and we definitely want to get back involved with U.S. Steel, especially with this new infrastructure bill that is going to come through the Congress soon. I love RSI. I love the Stokes, and they're hooking up. What I don't like is price. And the problem here is that you're seeing sellers, as noted by these topping tails, at resistance. So what's the action plan if we decided to buy? When are we going to act on our strategy? It's when we break out above resistance and close there, weekly chart. I'm not looking for simply a daily breakout above resistance, which I wouldn't ignore necessarily, but it would definitely have an impact based upon volume, the size of my position. I would prefer to see a closing week above this resistance level here. And if we get that close, we'll be looking to reopen our long position of U.S. Steel. And for new traders out there, you may be saying, you know what? This guy just told me that he booked profits last week and it has to be at a lower price, and he's advocating buying the shares back at a higher price. What kind of trader is this guy? He must be on welfare. No, what you want to do is you want to sell at resistance, buy at support. Even if that means buying at higher prices. You want to buy high and sell higher. That's what you do when you're trading momentum. In short, were I to have held over the weekend with a market that was extremely overbought and remains extremely overbought on a weekly and monthly basis, I would have been hoping that we got to break out above significant resistance rather than fearing. I want to rather hope that we close above this resistance level while I'm sitting in cash and then buy that breakout, because what has changed? What has changed are my probabilities. And the probability of making money just went up dramatically if I close above resistance. Why? It's because I know that the sellers back here and the sellers back here, for the most part, have been overwhelmed by buyers rather than sellers. This is what you call overhead supply. I prefer to book my profits and let other traders do the battle. Call me a coward. And I'd rather wait till the battle is over and we've recaptured a support level to go buying back in. So members, more to come on U.S. Steel. The next request up is for Facebook. Now, Facebook has thus far this week put in an inside week. No new high, no new low. The week is early. This is a weekly chart. I will caution that while we broke out on Facebook several weeks ago, we haven't made a tremendous amount of gains relative to the S&P 500. Let's overlay it here, and I'll show you what I mean. So while for quite some time, in a number of years, the price of Facebook has been outperforming the S&P 500, which is overlaid here in blue line chart, you could see now Facebook is lagging. And that includes this week's downward move on the S&P 500 and Facebook. Your indicators on a weekly basis are putting in a series of lower highs, no lower lows yet. We are hooking up on Stokes. Very choppy action on our Stoch RSI. And we're rolling over here after breaking down on Ultimate Oscillator. So while I am not saying to go shorting Facebook today, I sure as heck wouldn't be a buyer, especially in front of earnings, which are coming out on the 31st after the market close. Daily chart, lower highs on RSI, lower highs on Stokes. And you could see here that we broke out on a closing basis on the 26th, and we failed. We've rolled back over now, and we're breaking down. I think that we're going to get more weakness on Facebook. We have lower highs everywhere on the daily chart. This is a weak chart. Caution flag on the track with Facebook. Now, if you're looking to play a trade off of earnings, I would consider an option strategy, either the strangles or a straddle. I wouldn't play the common shares into earnings here. Members, more to come on Facebook. AMZN.com weekly chart. We're not as overbought relative to the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the NASDAQ comp for that matter on Amazon. However, I do believe that it is a short-term short. You may be saying, wait a minute, whoa. Amazon is outperforming the market this week. It's up while the markets are down. I don't think it's going to last. We'll go to a daily chart in a second. We'll talk about it. Now, on a weekly basis, we're trading at and above the 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band. Volume last week was pretty good, well above average. Now, the trade to the short side would be very short term. I'm not betting that Amazon is going to crash. But on a daily chart here, RSI 87.39 is extremely overbought. Can we move higher? Absolutely. I wouldn't dismiss it simply because we've observed the fact that Amazon is trading with RSI 87.39. Doesn't make me like a little schoolgirl and forcing me to go running in and shorting the shares at the open. We are aware through our experience that it can move higher, and we're prepared to see that happen. But yesterday, you saw a change in price action. You saw sellers move in at the close. The same thing we saw on the S&P 500 and on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Volume was still good yesterday, but a lot of that was selling at the close. How do I know? Here's the close. We put in a high early in the morning at 1431.39. We have a lower high. We broke down and confirmed the breakdown because we broke down below 1420, which marked the lows of the day, and sell pressure was on. We began leaning into the 3rd standard deviation Bollinger Band on a 5-minute chart, and a short squeeze occurred, but I think that we're going to roll over here. Look at the volume. This is not mom and pop selling 100 shares. These are institutions, and you don't want to fight them. And that's it for this morning, folks. Everybody have a profitable day, and be well.